Good morning, friends. Long time no see. Things been going pretty good living in the truck this winter so far. We're definitely getting into more of the thick of winter here in Colorado, so it's been a little bit tricky getting to places and stuff like that. It's just not that enjoyable to be outside in a lot of places. Sorry that I sound a little congested today. I'm getting over a cold right now. Today I'm going to go over an upgrade I did on my truck rig a couple weeks ago, and I got a few little tweaks done to it to get it working better. And what this was installing an inverter so I could charge my living space battery, my Jackery, off of my truck while it's running. I'm just going to get right into it to show the more installation side, then go over a couple of the problems with it and upgrades I need to do to get it working safely and effectively as much as possible. So let's get right into it. But before that, I want to give a little couple shout outs to a couple of local fans of mine, Dimitri and Vitali. You guys are great kids, and hope you guys keep up the good work. So here we are on the engine bay side. So wiring this was a bit of a pain because while there is an easy route through the firewall of the Silverado, you're very limited on the gauge of wire that you can run. And the inverter I got is a 1,000-watt inverter. So at 12 volts, that comes out to like the high 60s in amps. I'll put down the exact amperage right here. So the cables I had to run were quite heavy. These are combined, these are 2 6-gauge stranded cables that I combined to get up to the amperage rating I needed to have with some safety margin. So there's a boot right here that is actually designed to have a wire run through it. Right there, there's a hole, and it looks like you'd be able to cut it wider than is meant to be to run a higher gauge cable through there, or lower gauge. But there's actually 2 boots in a row, and only the nipple part actually goes all the way through. I was able to shove 1 6-gauge stranded cable through, and even that was pushing it, and I had to get 4 plus the terminals through. So there was no way I was going to be able to go that route. So either way, I'm going to keep going down the line from here. So what I had to do was go under the truck instead of through the firewall. So I just ran the cables, and there needs to be cleanup here. I'm going to be zip tying things down, but it's easier to see in this state. Also, I'm going to be making some cuts in my battery cover to keep corrosion and nastiness off my fuses and everything. So I just ran the cables, just avoiding any refrigeration lines and keeping the cables off any heat shields, so you don't damage the shielding of the cable. So they just go down under the truck. And so once I knew that I couldn't go through the firewall with those large terminals, I started looking for alternatives, and I found one. So right now we are under the passenger footwell. And if I can find the cables, there they are. So follow it right there, and there's a plastic plug right here. I'm sure you can't see it very well, but it's white, it's off-white. And what I did was that you can push on this, it's pretty flexible, and you can feel the void under the carpet of the passenger footwell. So what I did was take an X-Acto knife and cut a slit in the carpet, and took a drill, and if you have a hole saw, but I'm sure that would be better, but I had a drill, so you work with what you got. So I drilled a few holes, and I could fit the terminals through with there. So that's how I got from the engine bay into the cabin. Now we're on the other side of that hole. This obviously needs a little bit of cleanup. It would be really nice if there was more than one access hole, but I understand that we kind of have to make more holes and stuff in the body. So they have to come out the same hole, which is kind of a bummer. So they're a little bit close. This is another improvement I need to make. I do need to add a inline fuse, just in case anywhere in this line, like for example, if once I get these wrapped up so that they shouldn't be able to touch each other. So even if something goes terribly wrong, like the shielding of the wires gets damaged and they touch each other, that way you don't melt your battery. So this is the other side, and I had to end up using both. Going around the truck, you really need to use quite a few feet of cable. So I have 6 foot of the double 6-gauge cable, so I'm ending up using 24 total feet of 6-gauge cable. That ended up being a little bit not quite enough. So this Renogy inverter that I'm using has these really nice, flexible, much more flexible than the 6-gauge cables are. Way easier to deal with. So I'm kind of glad that I ended up not being able to take these terminals all the way to the inverter, because these are way nicer to deal with. Ended up being kind of a happy accident. Yep, that takes us to the inverter. And this inverter is really nice if you're kind of shopping for an inverter, because one of the features of this is that it comes with a little wired remote. Kind of a handy feature. Another improvement I need to make, I do need to get this secured somehow. I did take a hard turn one time, and this did flip over. So of course, if that happens to touch both of the terminals at the same time, you are running current through the body of the inverter, which I'm sure the inverter has protections against that, but you're still shorting, or almost shorting, your battery when you do that, of course. So, inverter, and then to get it to the back of the truck, we start here. I have just a basic medium duty extension cord right here, and it runs underneath the passenger seat, kind of right next to the console. And now we will go to the back seat, and I'll show you how to get from the back seat to the truck bed. We're getting closer and closer to the back. So here's that same blue extension cord. Now all you'll need to do is lift up your back seat. My truck is way too messy. All right, so we're under the driver's side back seat, and if you pull your carpet back, you'll find this access port right here, and it is big enough stock to fit a normal plug. I'm sure if you have a very heavy-duty plug, you might need to Dremel this a little bit to give yourself enough room. That, or take your safety in your own hands and shave the housing down to get it to fit. So at this point, I thought it'd be nice to be able to unplug the extension cord and use it as an extension cord outside the truck. So this is where I switched from my own extension cord to the Jackery extension cord. That way I can unplug this and still use this as a regular extension cord. You know, for example, if I want to run something straight off the inverter. So that gets us in between the cabin and the bed. And lastly is the easiest part. All right, we're now under the bed of the truck. So what I did was since this is a nice loud cable, I was able to see it and grab it from, let's see here. There it is. So there's where it comes out. So it's going to come out the back of the bed, and then you're going to have to pull it down, and that's where it comes down through. And then to get it into the actual bed is just right there. Super easy. Again, plenty big enough to fit a regular extension cord housing through. So super easy. Last but not least, where it comes out is right there. So it comes right out, and there you go. You have successfully human centipeded your truck all the way through. So lastly, on the topic of the inverter and the use of it, inverter, wonderful, works great. Very durable, I've learned. I really should have gotten the 2000 watt model if I wanted to have the longest inverter life. A funny thing about Jackery, and I think this goes for all lithium-ion batteries, and also if you just want to see the inverter install, that's it. So, but if you're kind of doing the truck life or curious about it, the Jackery, and this goes for, I believe, all lithium-ion batteries, the charge rate is not always the same. When I measured the charge rate off of a wall outlet, I never fully charged it off the wall. So because of that, I never saw the maximum charge rate. So what I did was when I bought it new, it had like, I don't know, 20% battery, I don't know. Plugged it into my wall, and I saw a charge rate of 750 watts. So that's why I got the 1000 watt inverter. Turns out Jackery does not always charge at 750 watts. It goes almost triple that at some points. I was charging it at the bar that I'm a regular at, and I saw a charge rate up to 1900 watts. And while an inverter can go over its rated wattage for a short period, it will eventually overcurrent. If you're going to be using an inverter like this in this kind of situation, get the name brand. Don't buy the cheapo Chinesium ones. It would become probably a pretty serious safety concern. So because of the charge rate of the Jackery, I am hitting overcurrent protection on the inverter very often. from 0% to 50% is pretty good, as long as the battery is cold. The charge rate is calculated by the computer, by the BMS, on the battery management system of the battery, based on current charge level and temperature, mostly. So with it being winter, I can charge from 0% to 50% approximately without tripping over current protection. Once I'm above about 50%, I am hitting overcurrent over and over and over and over again. It will charge, and this is one of the reasons you should get a good quality inverter. If you have an inverter that does not have such good safety systems, like Renogy is a top-of-the-line product, it could become a safety hazard. So when this inverter probably dies, I probably will go up to the 2000 watt model. My other concern was the power draw off of my truck. I tried to estimate the idle amps of my alternator, and I calculated that I'm probably losing between 7 and 10 amps at idle. So I only use my inverter when I'm driving. I don't turn it on and off when I'm stopping and starting at like stoplights. But I make sure that I'm generally moving when I'm using it, because I think when I'm standing still, I'm probably losing a little bit of battery off of my truck. And then if I got the 2000 watt model, that problem would be exasperated, of course. The other side of that would be I would probably keep my battery at 100% because it's not resetting over and over and over again. It goes from 0% to 50% pretty damn fast. And then once I'm hitting that overcurrent protection, it's going from 0 to 1000, 0 to 1000, 0 to 1000 over and over again. So it's not the most efficient charging. And I assume even with Renogy being a top-of-the-line product, the lifespan of this inverter, the way I'm using it, is probably going to be pretty short, to be honest. But overall, the system's been pretty good. My big power draw is my refrigerator. My life basically revolves around keeping my refrigerator working. And my other kind of big power draw, and they kind of make problems for each other, is my diesel heater. I'm going to make a bigger video about this later. This is my diesel heater. It's totally amazing. I'm blown away with it. But because I run my diesel heater, so even if the temperature outside is a temperature that my refrigerator generally wouldn't run, the heater is heating the back of the truck enough that makes the refrigerator run. So the heater takes almost no electricity. Once it's going, it takes about 5 to 10 watts. But the refrigerator, when it's on, is taking about 30 watts. And it turns on every half an hour, 45 minutes or so for a few minutes. So that's my big power draw, is my refrigerator. That's going to be it. I'm going to sign off for this video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you next time. See ya!